Hello and welcome. I'm Whitney Roseborough, one of the marketing coordinators here at Squire. Thanks for joining us today for our Social Security webinar. Before we get started, I'd like to point out the Q&A section in the top right corner of your screen. Throughout the presentation, feel free to post any questions you have, and Nathan will answer them at the end. I've also shared a link if you'd like to sign up for our Squire Wealth Advisors e-newsletter. Now let me introduce you to our presenter. Today we have Nathan Larson. Nathan is a CPA and wealth advisor for Squire. His focus is financial planning and tax. He enjoys helping his clients with all areas of finance and tax strategies. With that, take it away, Nathan.
Thanks, Whitney, and thanks to all our participants out there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Today we're talking about Social Security, so we're going to jump in there, and then if you have questions along the way, type them in the Q&A like Whitney said, and I will do my best to answer those questions at the end. And if we can't get to all the questions, we can feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to answer any questions I can. So to start off, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Social Security and the solvency of the program and what you hear on the news and with people talking in the community. So, depending on which news source you read and the flavor of the week for the news people, we hear all the time that Social Security is bankrupt, that it's going to run out of money, that the trust funds that were originally created for Social Security have been robbed by Congress over the years. So I'm just going to start off with just a little bit of the facts and kind of lay out where the Social Security program's at. So the Social Security Administration files the financial report in April each year, so we don't quite have the 2020 report yet. But according to 2019, I do have that report, and just as a background and a reminder of how the system works. So Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. So the workers out there, having Social Security taxes withheld from their paychecks and then matching taxes by employers, those tax dollars go into the Social Security Trust Fund, and then that trust fund is used to pay out benefits to retired recipients. So it's kind of a pay-as-you-go. The trust fund at the end of 2019 had $2.8 trillion in it. Those dollars are invested in U.S. Treasury assets, so they do earn interest. And as far as the bankruptcy comments and the system running out of money, if you look at the actuarial reports and kind of project things out, the trust fund is kind of projected to run out by 2035. And what that means is that the $2.8 trillion is likely to get used up for lots of different reasons. So number one, we have a lot less workers per retired person in the US right now. Back in 1950, there were 16.5 workers per person receiving benefits. In 2020, in 2015, there were 2.8 workers per person receiving benefits. And in 2035, it's expected to be 2.2. So a lot of reasons that's happening, mostly demographic shifts. We've got people living longer, nowadays, and we have a lot, our population, our birth rates are going down, and our population is not growing as fast as it was. We also have the baby boomers that are retiring now. Baby boomers are like the people born in 1946 to 1960. That age group has been retiring for the past several years and will continue for a few more years. And so that's putting a strain on the system. The trust fund, when it runs out, that sounds really bad. You never want to have more money going out than you have money coming in, and when your savings are kind of reduced and are gone, then you have a problem, and that's what the problem that the news talks about. And the problem, what it really is it will only, if Congress makes no changes to the system, then the Social Security will only be able to pay out about 75% of what it's supposed to, of what it's currently paying out. to people. So there is a chance that benefits could get cut by 25% going forward. My thoughts there is that Congress will eventually do something, hopefully sooner rather than later. There's lots of different little changes that they can make. They could also do some more bigger changes. Some of the things that I've heard passed around there is they could raise the payroll tax rate. They could take the cap off of Social Security wages. So in 2021, Social Security tax is only charged on the $142,800 of wages. They could take that ceiling off and just charge Social Security tax on all wages. They could raise the retirement age beyond 67, which that's kind of, we'll talk about what's happened in the past regarding retirement ages. They could cut benefits. They could change the formula. One thing that's interesting I've heard is there's been some talk that they would, people would like to be able to invest their Social Security taxes in a personal retirement account and be more in control of that. I have mixed feelings on that. I think it's a good idea from personally, I'd be able to handle that, but I think there's a lot of Americans that would not be able to handle that, and they'd be kind of out of luck at the end of their working life, and we'd have a pretty big economic drain on the system that way. So anyway, that's kind of just some background. I think Congress will get in there and make some changes that will keep the system going forever and make it more sustainable. But right now, 2035 at the worst case scenario is that we're only able to receive about 75% of the benefits that we're supposed to receive. So jumping into the presentation today, the big question that I get the most is, when should I start claiming benefits? And the answer is, it depends. So you can take benefits as early as age 62, and your full retirement age is at the age when you get your full benefit. That's between 66 and 67, depending on the year you were born. And I'll show a little chart on that so you can find out when your unique individual or full retirement age is. And then you can delay benefits up through age 70. And there's no one size fits all. It's a personal decision, a lot of things to factor in. I spend my time helping clients figure out, their overall financial health, what makes sense for them, and come up with a plan that they can feel comfortable about and that gets them to meet their goals. And this is a big part of that, but there's a lot of factors in everybody's plan, and everybody's different. But when you decide to take benefits, can significantly affect your overall retirement income. The last client I helped with Social Security, I was kind of just looking at it. They had paid in, between them and their employer, about $300,000 of Social Security taxes over their working career, and their expected benefits between them and their spouse over, the value of those benefits over their remaining expected lifetime was 1.3 million. So it is a huge asset for most people, and most Americans rely to some degree on these Social Security payments, and so it does make a difference in your overall retirement plan. And the timing of your claiming strategy, it makes sense to do some work ahead and some planning to know when the best time to start is. If you're married, then timing also affects your spousal benefits and potentially survivor's benefits. So a few things just that you should consider. So your full retirement age and benefit calculation, I'll get into some of the parameters on how that works in a minute. The amount of your future benefit and what happens if you take benefits early or if you delay and earn delayed retirement credits. How long do you expect retirement to last? If I had a crystal ball as a planner, I'd be able to do really detailed, great planning. If I were to know exactly when somebody was going to die and what the markets were going to do and all those things, then we'd be able to get really detailed in our planning. But we do have to kind of factor in some assumptions on life expectancy and different market outcomes and things like that. Whether you plan to continue working is a big one, and we'll get into how working may or may not affect your benefits. And then other sources of retirement income, taxes. I'm a CPA, so a lot of the strategies I'm using, we're thinking about how do we keep taxes as low as we can over someone's lifetime. And then obviously how your spouse might be affected. So here's the full retirement ages. So if you remember back when I was talking about the solvency of the program, when Social Security first came out, the life expectancies of Americans was much lower than it is now. And so the majority of Americans never lived long enough to claim any benefits. And they had the full retirement age at 66, but people started living longer and we started having this strain on the system. And so Congress decided, let's push the retirement age to 67. Well, that made some folks upset because they thought it was unfair, and so Congress made it even more complicated, and now we have all these different options depending on the year you were born. So if you're born after 1960, you get the 67, the easy one. If you're born before 1954, then you've got age 66, and then if you're in between, you got a fractional year there for your full retirement age. And this concept is important because it's the age at which Social Security says you get your full benefit. As far as how your benefits are calculated, to qualify for Social Security, you have to have worked in the Social Security system and had taxes withheld or paid self-employment taxes for 40 quarters. So that's 10 years if you strung them all together, but they don't have to be consecutive. So it's 40 quarters to qualify. And then as far as the benefit calculation goes, Social Security takes all of your historical earnings, indexes them for inflation so they're comparable, and then they take the average of the 35 highest years of your earnings to come up with your benefit calculation. Okay. So this is just an example to kind of show how the full retirement age works and how taking benefits early will affect your benefits. So in this example, this person's full retirement age is 66. Their benefit at full retirement age, monthly benefit, would be $1,800. If they took it as early as age 62, then they would have I think they're a 25% reduction, so $1,350 per month. How the reduction works is it's an 8% reduction each year you take benefits early, and that 8% reduction is factored by month. So you know if it was you'd have 8.5 months, or if you did it 8.5 or a year and a half early, then you'd have a reduction of 8.5%. Kind of, well, no, 8 plus 4, so 12% reduction. On the flip side, if you delay taking benefits, you do earn delayed retirement credits, which is an 8% increase every year you wait. So our same example, $1,800 benefit, this person, if they waited till 70, their monthly benefit would be $2,376. If we look at the full spectrum, if you compare taking it at 62 versus 70, there's a 76% increase. Of course, you would have had to give up $130,000 over those 8 years, but you would buy yourself a bigger monthly payment forever. So there is some value in delaying Social Security. That 8% increase is a government guaranteed increase. There's nowhere in the market, in any investment really, where you could get a government guaranteed 8% return. And so delaying can be very, very powerful in retirement planning. And what I always like to tell people, one of the questions I often get is, well, what's the break-even age? How old do I have to live in order for it to pay out, waiting to pay off? And I always tell clients that's the wrong way to look at it. What Social Security can provide is longevity insurance. So your biggest risk in retirement, it's not dying, it's actually living a long time and running out of money. Nobody wants to go down that door. People's kids don't want their parents to go down that door because it means that burden is likely placed on them to take care of the aging parents. And so by delaying Social Security, you can protect yourself against longevity because you buy yourself the bigger monthly payments forever, for your lifetime. And if you're married, for your spouse's lifetime, which I'll get into how the spousal benefits and the survivor's benefits work in a minute. But just a few age statistics. So life expectancies currently are on average 83 for men and 85 for women. However, if there's a 1 out of 4 chance that you will live past 90 and a 1 out of 10 chance that you'll live past age 95. And so again, using Social Security as a longevity insurance can make a lot of sense in shoring up somebody's overall retirement strategy and plan so that they don't go down that door of running out of money and not being able to take care of themselves and do the things they want to do later on in life. All right, let's talk a little bit about working. So if you take Social Security benefits at full retirement age, this is the right side of this slide here, then there's no penalty for continuing to work. So as long as you wait until full retirement age or later, you can work as often as you'd like. And there's no penalty. Social Security won't penalize you for working. However, if you take benefits before full retirement age, then you will there's a reduction in a potential reduction in benefits. And how that works is, here's kind of the scale. Okay, so before your full retirement age, there is some income you can earn. So in 2021, it's basically $19,000 of income. If you decide to take benefits early and work, and you make more than $19,000, your Social Security benefits will be reduced $1 for every $2 that exceed that $19,000 of income. The year you reach full retirement age, you get a little bit bigger of a cap there, and that's just because, you know, maybe some people, not everybody's going to retire right at year end or right at the beginning of the year. You know, maybe they retire halfway through the year or any point during the year. And so the year that you reach full retirement age, you've got a $50,000 income limit, and the benefit reduction's a little slower. It's $1 of reduction for every $3 that exceed that limit. And then, of course, at or after full retirement age, there's no effect on earnings, no effect on benefits. You could earn $1 million plus and have no impact to the Social Security dollars that you collect. Now, if you are taking benefits and working, and you fall into these groups and you have a reduction, you don't lose the benefits. It's not like they disappear. What happens to those reductions, they get added back to your benefit calculation and kind of paid out to you over your expected lifetime. However, if you are going to work, my advice there would be just delay Social Security until the timing's right, like you're either at full retirement age or you're not working. If you're planning on taking benefits early and it makes sense to take benefits early, you don't want to be having earned income and working at the same time. You're better off waiting to take those benefits. Okay. As far as overall planning goes, here's some earning sources to just kind of factor in. So Social Security, hopefully that's not your only source of retirement income. You might work part-time. If you're lucky, you've got a pension. Those are kind of dying out. So that's why I say if you're lucky, you still have those. And then, of course, savings and investments. So all of these things factor in, and they impact, you know, how much you can spend during retirement, what's your tax situation going to be like, when does it make sense to start the Social Security benefits, and so on. And so these things should be factored into your overall strategy on claiming benefits. All right, this is kind of a sore topic, but we have to go over it. So are your benefits going to be taxable? And the answer is maybe. So it depends on how much your income is. And so if you look down at the bottom with the star there, this combined income, it's your adjusted gross income plus your non-taxable income plus half of your Social Security benefits. So that number, if you're a single person and you're below, that number's below 25,000 for the year, then your Social Security benefits are tax free. If that number is between 25 and 34,000, then up to half of your benefits will be taxable at your normal whatever income tax rate they fall into when you file your tax return. The married filing joint limits are 32,000 and 44. Once you get above that 34 and 44, then 85% of your benefits are taxable. And sometimes that scares people. The tax rate is not 85%. It's, let's say you have $100 of benefits, 85 of those dollars will be taxed on your tax return in whatever income bracket they fall into. And so they do tax, and this tax that gets collected, that goes back into the system, so it helps kind of keep it going. So that's how the taxes on the benefits work. Okay. So when we're looking at deciding when to take benefits, there's other factors than just yourself usually, unless you're a single person that's not married and no kids and never been married. But usually people have other things to think about. So they've got a spouse, potential survivor benefits. If you have minor children that you're taking care of, there's some benefits available for them, or disabled children as well, even if they're not minors. So those things are important. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how the survivor benefits work. So survivor benefits, if we think back to the full retirement age benefit, in our example, that person, their monthly benefit was $1,800. If that person was married, their spouse would be eligible for a benefit up to half of that amount, which is $900. That benefit, there's a lot of things that go into kind of figuring that out. So to qualify for that benefit, the primary earner has to be taking their own benefits. And then what we have to look at is the age at which the spouse decides to take benefits. If the spouse takes benefits at their full retirement age, then they would get the full amount. Now keep in mind, the survivor benefit does not earn delayed retirement credits past full retirement age. So if we think back to our example where we had the $1,800 benefit, if that person waited till 70, they would get like almost $2,400. The survivor benefit, or the spouse benefit, does not grow. They wouldn't get half of $2,400. They would only get half of $1,800, and that's assuming that the spouse claims at their full retirement age. If that spouse takes benefits before their full retirement age, then you would start at the $900 benefit, and you'd have an 8% reduction from that point, depending on how many years they claimed benefits early. And survivors benefits, survivors benefits are available. Let's say that we have a couple, the same example. So let's say they both claim benefits at full retirement age, and the primary earning spouse passes away, then the surviving spouse would lose the spousal benefit, but then would step into the $1,800 a month benefit. So one thing to think about there is that delaying benefits protects you, but it also protects your spouse from living a long time, because you would be buying your spouse a higher survivor's benefit if you delayed. So sometimes I've had difficult conversations with clients where maybe the primary earnings spouses, their life expectancy is short for some reason, maybe an illness or something like that. And their tendency is, well, I should go claim benefits right away so that I can get them for as long as possible. And sometimes the answer to that question is, well, yes, you could do that, but it might be better for your spouse if you delay, because you're buying your spouse a higher payment, and maybe the surviving spouse is going to live 10, 20 years plus down the road. And so you buy them that bigger payment, for as long as they live as well. If somebody passes away before age 60, there are well, no, survivor benefits are available as early as age 60. There is a reduction there, but they can be claimed as early as age 60. Okay, so Congress has made some changes recently, like over the past 5 or 6 years. There's been a few changes to the Social Security. One of those, we used to be able to do a lot of different tricky things planning wise. The only one left, the only strategy left right now that's a little bit tricky is available for people who were born before January 2nd, 1954. And this allows for a restricted application. So how this works is one spouse files first for their own retirement benefits. The other spouse can file for a restricted application, which means they're only filing up for the spousal benefits. And that allows them to collect the spousal benefits, but still also have their primary benefit continue to earn the delayed retirement credits. And then when they get to the right age, then they can kind of switch. So it's a strategy that's available to, not everybody, but if you're born before 1954, you could still take advantage of this. And I'm happy to run the numbers for anybody that's on this webinar. If you just reach out to me, I can help walk you through this and run specific numbers to you. All right, so we're kind of coming to the end of our content here, but here's kind of two columns that go over the differences. So you may want to take benefits early if you need the income right away. So if you just are done working and Social Security income fits right into your overall retirement plan, maybe you don't have that choice or that flexibility to delay benefits. If you want to invest your monthly benefit, I'd probably advise against doing that because, again, the 8% government guaranteed return is pretty hard to beat. You could obviously beat it in the market, but it would be a roller coaster ride, and you're not going to have that government guarantee. And like I was saying earlier, your biggest risk in retirement is longevity, outliving your assets and running out of money. And by delaying Social Security, you're protecting yourself from longevity. If you want to delay having to take funds from retirement vehicles, your spouse wants to delay taking benefits. So any age differences between spouses, and also if the spouse has their own benefit compared to a spousal benefit, all those things factor into a claiming strategy. And it's pretty hard to know in general what to do. You really just have to look at your individual unique situation and come up with a strategy that makes sense for you. A lot of times I'll meet with people and I'll kind of think I know what the right answer should be, and then I'll run the numbers and think, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's different than what I was thinking off the cuff. So you need to get in and run the analysis to determine what the best approach is. And that's something that I do, and I'm happy to do that for anyone on this call. Just reach out to me and we can schedule some time to do that. As far as delaying benefits, the biggest benefit there is you're buying yourself a higher monthly payment for your lifetime and your a surviving spouse's lifetime. Obviously, if you plan to work longer, you don't want to take benefits early. And then that last one there, if you're able to do the restricted application, then there's probably some dollars you can get up front, but still have the delayed approach as far as your overall strategy goes. So socials, you probably remember we used to get these little green and white pages from Social Security in the mail, like a little booklet, 2-page booklet thing that had a list of our earnings histories and an estimate of what our Social Security benefits would be when we retire. They stopped sending those out, but you can go on and get the same information at ssa.gov. You have to just go to that website, create an account, and you can get all the information you need on estimated benefits. You can check your earnings history, which is probably worth doing from time to time, especially if you're self-employed, because I have seen mistakes on those reports. Sometimes I've seen zeros on a few years where the client really was working, and if you've got that situation, you want to fix those early if possible, because it's a lot harder to try to get Social Security to fix anything that's really old. But yeah, so go onto that website, create an account, and check out kind of what your estimated benefits are, review your earnings history. There's a lot of good information on there. And then when you are ready to start claiming benefits, you need to contact the Social Security Administration at least 3 months before, this says before you reach age 62. I would say 3 months before you want to start taking benefits, and maybe even 6 months before. The one thing to worry about, the most important thing for somebody that's going to be kind of approaching this age 62 to 65 is the Medicare. You gotta make sure that you don't miss any Medicare enrollment at age 65. I didn't talk about Medicare here. We'll do a presentation on Medicare probably in the fall, that just before open enrollment. But if you have any Medicare questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can help there as well. This says you can apply in person. You can't do that anymore. You apply online, and then how it works is Social Security calls you, reviews your application. Very rarely do you have to go into the office, the Social Security office, but occasionally they're trying to do everything online and through the phone now. So I think that's all the content I had. So the one thing I forgot to mention that might be of interest to someone, I was talking about the trust fund and the solvency of Social Security. Because the 2020 report's not out yet, I was curious just how did COVID affect things. And what I found was there were several different groups who did studies, and they thought that the fund, instead of the trust fund running out in 2035, they thought that COVID might speed up that process by 2 to 5 years, depending on how they did the study. So we'll see what happens as we come out of COVID and get people back to work and everything there. But the reality is Congress is going to have to do something to make some changes to the solvency of the system here. But okay, so with that, I'll jump into the questions and see if I can answer those. Hey, Whitney, are you still on? I can't see.
Yep.
Okay. Is there only one question right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this question's from Joe. Is your Social Security monthly benefit amount affected if you quit work 5 years before collecting it? Or if your current Social Security statement shows a certain monthly amount, will it still be that amount in 5 years when you go to collect it? So great question, Joe. The answer to that is it might affect your benefits. If you stop working 5 years before, then that's potentially 5 years of no earnings. So if we go back, I'll go back to that slide. Your benefits are calculated on the highest 35-year average. So if you've got 35 years of max earnings in the past, then no, it won't affect your benefit. If you do not have 35 years max earnings, and it's going to put a 0 into that average, because they do use actually 35. So if you haven't worked 35 years, they'll put a 0 in to make up the difference there. So then it would affect your benefits. And the estimated benefits on your statement, if you read on there, it does show a little, it says we expect your Social Security earnings to be X amount for the next, up until full retirement age. So that does factor in potentially, unless you've already had 35 years of the max. All right, question here from Cynthia. For the filing for spousal benefits, do the spouse looking to use spouse's benefits need to be born before 1954? So the one filing the restricted, so that's going back to that trick where if you're born before January 2nd, 1954, then you can file a restricted application. So that strategy only works, the person filing the restricted application has to be born before 1954. The other spouse just has to be taking benefits. So if that spouse is younger, it might not make sense because they'd be taking a penalty, an 8% reduction for early claiming in order to free this up. So it probably doesn't make sense in that case, but I'm happy to run the numbers for you individually if needed. All right, Cliff, what age is Medicare available? That age is 65, and that's when it's available. If you are continuing to work and you're covered by a health insurance plan at work, then you do have some options. You can stay on your insurance plan at work, and or you could jump on Medicare, and there might be even some combinations of those two. Now, remember, Medicare is individual, so if your spouse is younger than you and he or she is you're relying on your work insurance for health insurance, then you might not want to jump to Medicare. You might want to keep on the work insurance until your spouse reaches age 65 as well. All right, question from Brian. I have read that there is a time limit for identifying mistakes on the Social Security benefit statement. I think that's true. I don't know what it is, Brian. I think it's a few years. That's why it's good to review that statement every year or two, just to make sure that you're getting credit for the Social Security earnings that you have and that you're paying tax on. Another question from Cliff. What is considered combined income when it comes to reducing Social Security benefits? Would a monthly payout by my company to buy my stock back count as income? So if we go back to that slide, I think it's down. One more. Oh no, that was it. All right. Are you talking about Cliff, I'm assuming you're talking about the working penalty, and if that's the case, then it's earned income. So it's investment income would not count in the benefit reduction. This would be earned income from a job or earned income from a self-employment activity, not investment income. However, if we're talking about the taxes, I'm all mixed up here, so I don't remember where the taxes were. If we're talking about the taxes, combined income it does start with your adjusted gross income. So those investment income and capital gain income would be factored into the taxability to combine income to determine if your benefits are taxable or not. So good question. Another one from Cynthia. If you collect early at full retirement age, will you get full amount? No. If you decide to claim benefits early, you are giving yourself a permanent reduction in benefits, in future benefits. Now you can, if you start benefits, let's say you started benefits at 62, then you claim them for a year and you decide, you know what, I'm bored, I want to go back to work. And you go back to work, you can postpone, you can stop benefits, or I think they call it suspend. You can suspend benefits, and your benefits will earn the delayed retirement credits from that point on, but you would have had a 1-year permanent reduction if that was your case. All right, Mike, what are some of the things you mentioned that Congress could potentially do to fix issues and make Social Security more sustainable in the future? Great question. Lots of things on the table there. So raise the payroll taxes. I've heard that even just a 1% tax increase would kind of fix the issue. Nobody likes tax increases, but I think I'd be willing to pay an extra 1% if it meant that, my grandparents and my older clients would not have to worry about the solvency of Social Security. Other things, they could increase the wage base. So right now in 2021, the wage base it's basically $143,000 that gets taxed for Social Security. They could raise that up. They could take it away. That would be a pretty big tax increase on higher earners, but they could take that away. They could raise the full retirement ages. That's likely to happen, in my opinion, because people live longer nowadays. So they could push that full retirement age out even longer. They could, one I've heard about, which I'm hoping doesn't happen, is they could means test Social Security. That really bothers me because it would penalize people who had sacrificed and been diligent in saving. So if you get to a point where you've prepared well for retirement and now you're losing Social Security benefits, and somebody who decided they wanted to spend all their income and not set aside money for retirement gets full benefits, that really bothers me, but that's potentially an option. They could change how they're calculating the cost of living adjustments, lots of different things there. So good question. The danger with the way Congress has been able to, or I should say not able to, get legislation through, I hope that they address it early rather than later, and that it's, we're not waiting until 2035 to make a change, because obviously the sooner we can make a change, and maybe it will be less of an impactful change from a tax standpoint and other things. Like, I think if we change things early, then there's more time for it to work itself out. All right, question from Iris. My spouse is born in March 56 and I am in June 57. If he chooses to draw Social Security at his full retirement age, can I get spouse benefits at his full retirement age? Yes, the answer is yes. You would have a 1 year or so reduction, permanent 8% reduction, but yes, you could. And if so, when I reach my full retirement age, can I switch to my own retirement benefits? So the answer to that is no. If you're born after 1954, then when you go to file benefits, you're filing for whatever your highest benefit option is, whether that's a spousal benefit if you're eligible for one of those, or your own. Whichever one's higher, they're going to deem you to have claimed the higher one. So you can't pick and choose like that. So you have to kind of factor in both those options. And then in that case, it might make sense for your husband to wait, or your spouse to wait 1 year, and they would earn an 8% increase. And if you're getting the spousal benefit at your full retirement age, then you're getting the maximum amount you could, and your spouse got a little bit of an increase. So if that's an option, if you're able to do that, that might make sense. Anonymous, how do we get in contact with you to ask you special questions about Social Security benefits? Whitney will be sending out my contact information. I do work at Squire here in Orem, so you can reach out to me directly. But Whitney will get you my email, and you can call the office at Squire and get me. And there it is right there. Okay, Brian, I reached full retirement age 66 in 2 months in August of this year. When I file to claim at full retirement age, will my first check arrive in August or September? So, great question. Your first check comes a month after you say you want to claim benefits, and you have to also give them time to process things. So that's where the 3 months comes into play. I would even maybe recommend 6 months with COVID and where they're working remote and all that. Sooner is better. But when you go and file that application, you put on the application the date at which you're claiming benefits. And if that's your full retirement age, then your check would come the next month after that, your first check. Does rental income affect Social Security benefits? So no on the earnings penalty, but yes on the taxes, potentially yes on the taxes, because it's part of your combined income for the taxability. We're on that slide right now. So adjusted gross income is kind of the starting point there, and rental income would be included in that. Another question from Cynthia, are we grandfathered in for any Social Security changes? Great question. The answer to that is who knows. My guess is yes. I mean, if you look at the way they changed the full retirement age from 66 to 67, they did sort of grandfather everybody in because they added those 2-month increments. So my thought there would be yes, but we don't know until they actually pass something. Okay, last question for now. If you still have a question, we've got time. You put it in there and I'll try and answer. Is it true that if you sign up for Medicare at 65, they take you as you are, but if you sign up after, they do not cover pre-existing conditions? I don't think that's true. If you're eligible for Medicare and you don't sign up, and you're not covered under a work plan, then that's a bad thing to have happen. You don't want to miss that, because on the supplemental plans and on the premiums, you might have a permanent penalty for waiting to sign up. So at age 65, just before you turn 65, a few months before, you should do one of two things. You should either talk to the Medicare people if you're not working and not covered under a plan at work. If you are covered by a plan at work and it's one of the qualified plans that Medicare accepts, then you want to talk to HR at your work and make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do, because you do not want to miss signing up because you can buy yourself a higher premium forever, and that's no fun. So, okay, that's all the questions I have for now. Let me just check something. I think that's it. So thank you for attending. Hopefully you learned something, and if you have unique questions or questions about anything we talked about today, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to schedule some time with you, either on the phone or web or potentially in person if you want to do it that way. But yeah, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. I spend most of my time helping clients with their overall financial strategy, and Social Security is a big part of most people's retirement planning. So happy to help there, and happy to help with any other investment, retirement planning, overall finance questions. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.